So I started Aspireship back in 2019, just before COVID. And the reason that I did it was I had built a SaaS company myself, and we were acquired. And I was now working inside of a publicly traded company and watching the machine just go and grow. And it was so interesting that some of the best performers on the sales team especially, but across the organization, didn't have that in their background. They either had no sales whatsoever and just came into it, or they were doing sales in like a retail setting, selling clothes or whatever in a mall, and then they just needed to learn some of the terminology around technology and things like that. And so basically I had all these people that were coming to me that just felt stuck in their careers and effectively typecast because they did one thing, and if they wanted to shift at all, whether it was industry-wise or job-wise, it was just a really big challenge. And so that really was the motivation to start Aspireship back then, and it's morphed and grown in ways I couldn't have imagined back then. So for one thing, the world has changed a lot since the beginning of Aspireship. And the most impactful part of that is AI and AI's impact on the workforce. So the way it relates specifically in the technology industry and SaaS and all of that is that we all used to live in a world where more people equaled more output, more revenue, more sales, all of that kind of stuff. And that is very quickly not becoming the case anymore. So what does that mean for you? It means that in order to get a role in these type of companies, you, number one, need to be really ahead of the curve in terms of your skills, being up to date on like what the biggest changes are, what tools you can utilize, what tools your leaders are utilizing to be more efficient, work smarter, and all of that stuff. But also just understand that it was always competitive. It is way more competitive now because there are fewer roles and there are more experienced people that are out there looking for work. And it's always easier to scoop up somebody that has done this exact job with this exact type of customer they're selling to or serving than it is to hire you and watch you develop, right? And so you need to give the leaders that you're trying to win over, you need to give them really compelling reasons why you are a very fast learner, that you have no ego, you don't think you know it all, you are always willing to learn and relearn, and basically that you're going to give it everything you've got. And those things combined with acquiring skills wherever you can are the top things that you want to do. Yeah, so traditionally it has been a lot of the roles that we focused on Aspireship, sales and customer success. Largely because a lot of those roles have to do with human to human interactions, right? Being personable, being organized, being diligent, and providing that level of trust between you and the prospect or the client, that you have their back, you know what you're talking about, all of that kind of stuff. So I think those things still continue to be true, though things are much more competitive now than they have been in recent years. So I think those still remain to be the number one. Number two, the other one that there aren't quite as many roles available, but that is a really good one, is RevOps, revenue operations. There are new names and variations of this coming out as well, specifically with AI driving a lot of it. But basically, this role is about really learning the tools and the platforms that the overall business will use to drive revenue. And so it's a very skills-based role, right? If you know the systems, if you know HubSpot and you know some of the new AI systems and you know these things and you know how they work together, then you can step into a company and help them do that. Now, the biggest challenge with that people see is that they haven't worked inside a business, so they don't understand how it all works. But especially if you're pivoting from something else and you have some like overall business acumen, business experience, and then you can learn the tools and be that consultant, kind of come in and go do that inside an organization or as a third party, which is a freelancer to start, which is a great way to get experience and credibility. That is a role that can be accessible as well. So it's a great question. I think that a lot of what it comes down to is your learning style and expectations. So I think because it used to be a little bit easier, more straightforward to get in, a lot of people are sort of looking for that silver bullet of like, hey, I'm going to take this course or this program, I'm going to get the training I need, and then they're going to guarantee me a job. Right? Or they're gonna, I'm guaranteed to do this because I'm part of this thing and all that. I think that the reality is different today than it used to be. And it should be more about what are you going to learn and what's the highest probability that you're going to learn it. And so there are programs that are on demand, as Aspireship being a good example, on demand, program. And then there's programs that have a lot of live instruction and like peer groups and stuff like that. And so if you're somebody that's like, hey, I'm self-motivated, I can learn on my own, like whatever, that's a good plan. But if you need that kind of like deep instructor connection and deep peer connection, then like more of a cohort-based program is the right fit for you. But I would say that you really need to be mindful of the fact that education and training is not the same as searching for a job. And sometimes there are programs that will attempt to combine those things, and some of them will do a good job at it. But ultimately, like, you're going to have the confidence and the courage to go out, knock on doors, show them that you know what you're doing, and all of that stuff. So you just need to have those expectations in mind. I don't think there is an answer, actually, to the question. So it's going to depend on who's hiring. The demonstrated experience in something very specific always wins. But the early career candidate typically doesn't have that level of experience or specificity. And so what they need to go draw upon is familiarity, which is funny enough, it's actually a big thing. So let's say you're going and trying to work for a software company that sells to automotive dealerships. That's their customer. And let's say your uncle's brother ran an automotive dealership and you visited it and you asked some questions a few times. Even that simple fact is like, hey, this is something that my family has spent a lot of time in, so I'm really familiar with the customer sets. I understand how they think and all of that stuff. That thing just elevates you way above. And it's kind of silly, but that's a huge thing, because every company thinks to themselves, our situation's so unique, our customer's so unique, our solution's so unique, and so we really need someone that understands our customer. And it's just so complicated to teach people, about our customer. Some companies view it that way, so I think that is a huge deal, along with attitude and drive and just fearlessness, especially if you're looking at a customer-facing role. Those are the things that I think matter the most. Even as, an education provider, I can say that the education helps. It definitely, puts you on the right path, but the education itself won't get you hired. It's going to impact it a lot. It already is. So I think if you're looking in these fields, you have to sort of humble yourself a little bit and ask the question, what could AI do that I can do? what can I do that AI can't or can't yet, or may not do with the same level of empathy for my customer or whatever. And you may not know the answer to those things, but you just have to understand the mindset, especially of a tech executive today, is what can I use AI for, and when do I actually need humans to do work, and what is the unique value that they bring. And so in the present moment, we're in 2025, right, for anyone who watches this way later, in the present moment, it's things like your interpersonal skills, right? I've talked to some great AI bots that have some really nice personal skills, and it's getting better and better by the day. But that human-to-human interaction is still really important, especially for trust. And so, that is one big thing. But I would say that there are going to be fewer roles available, period. Sales, marketing, customer success. There will be fewer individuals needed to do the same amount of work and get to the same outcome. But there absolutely will be roles needed. And it's going to really separate the great ones from the just okay ones. And so you just have to figure out how to be a great one. And that's your interpersonal skills, your empathy, your thinking about the context of what you're doing and how it relates to their business and your customer, their business, and your business that you're in. Because eventually AI will have that level of context as well. But in most cases today, and the way it's used, it doesn't. And so you just got to think about these kinds of things. And then the last piece that I wanted to touch on with this topic is it's worth sort of reevaluating what you think is a good career. And so what I mean by that is all of these jobs we've discussed, they're great careers. They will continue to be great careers. However, there's a lot of things that will either be created or have existed for a long time that you may not have thought of as a great career or as a durable path for yourself. And I just encourage everyone to have an open mind, because the amount of change being injected into our world today is absolutely unprecedented. And it goes way beyond your use of, a chat agent like ChatGPT or something like that. It is much, much deeper. And so it's just really important to think about, okay, where's the world headed? How do I fit into that? And regardless of what I'm hireable for or what I could earn a good income doing, what actually drives me? What will I want to be doing 10 years from now? And will the market be supportive of that kind of career path? So yeah, it's pretty complicated, but it's a really important time to be very reflective on this stuff. So a couple of things come to mind. Number one, so we started another product called Orchard that is all about career exploration and also understanding what jobs are going to be in demand and what jobs are changing, how AI is changing jobs. So I just really, really encourage everyone to sort of broaden their horizons and look at the different facets of the workforce, because it's so plentiful. There's just so much you can do. So for example, if you're looking in sales, understand how sales works across a number of different industries. Right. So there is SaaS, but the world is kind of becoming all tech, like all businesses have some tech associated with it. And so think about the verticals you want to focus on: healthcare, the construction industry, media, finance, whatever, right? And think about those things and sort of where you can bring some additional context or passion for an industry, and that sort of transcends the traditional, like, I'm going to learn my skills and I'm going to go show I'm good with people and whatever. So that's one thing. The second is to gain a pretty good understanding of what leaders are looking at and how they're operating their companies today. And so I bring that up because a lot of individuals will talk about, oh yeah, if you're going to be a great rep, you need to learn how to use AI and all that stuff. Yes, of course. But for the most part, the tools aren't going to be stuff that you choose. The leaders are going to choose them, and you may need to know how to use them. And it may also just be fed to you, right? You may not need to do anything. It just shows up there, right? And so having the context of what those things are for, but also how the business owners are thinking about driving the business forward and their strategy. And that will help you show up to interviews in a place that is like, I'm not living in the past. I understand what's happening now. I really love learning about this and applying it and that sort of thing. That's if you're in an individual contributor role. And if you're in one of these roles like RevOps or something like that, you need to become an expert in the tools, like researching everything that people are using, why they're using it, how it's changing, how it's impacting the business, and all of that stuff. And that, I think that goes for marketing as well, because you're just controlling so many things and being able to show, what you can do as one individual. Yeah, we did cover a bunch of this. I would say interpersonal skills is huge. A really robust understanding of an industry or a business, and then leadership skills. So I think leadership is extra important. And the reason I say that is if you sort of look at where things are headed with AI or seem to be headed, there's kind of no limit to the number of tasks that can be automated away or handled by an AI agent, and so on. And so getting really great at a certain task or certain thing, probably isn't going to be your competitive advantage. But if you think about all the businesses that we're in, you're not going to put even if it's the most brilliant AI on the planet, you're not going to put it in charge of the company. Right? We just don't do that, right? And so basically you have to think about these strategic decisions and things like that and think like a leader. And part of the reason I think this is important too is if you look at what proportion of people in the US actually run a small business, it's already enormous. I think it's going to get even bigger. So if you think about the sort of old days of, hey, we're all going to go get jobs and we're all going to be part of this big machine and this big company. Yeah, a lot of people are still going to do that. But some of these really big companies may just get smaller in terms of the quantity of people they have employed. And it may drive a lot of really smart people to start businesses. And those businesses may not be businesses that employ 10,000 people. It might be businesses that employ 3 or 4 people, but actually do a lot better than the old days of a 3 or 4 person company. And so just thinking about the durability of your career, being nimble enough to be able to say hey, I can lead inside an organization and I also can lead myself and lead my own organization for whatever period of time that may be relevant to me or to what's going on in the world. And I think those are things that are important for grads to be thinking about.